All right. Good morning. Good morning. So today's topic is going to be a little bit of information about Kobe Bryant. Now, here's the thing. Kobe Bryant used to wake up at 4 a.m. every single morning because he believed that was going to take him to greatness. He didn't do it because everybody else was doing it. He did it because he felt that he could get in an extra workout. And those are the types of things that made him legendary in his sport, right? Now, here's the truth. If we're talking about this in the world of real estate, I want you to think about this. It's not always the smartest individual, right? It's not always those that have all the right answers, and none of that information actually ever matters. What I want to say is if you think like Kobe Bryant and you believe that you can make things happen because you get that extra practice. You get up in the morning at 4 a.m., you start taking notes, you read books, right? You start going through the CRM to see where you need to get through today. The key point of all of this is it actually puts you ahead of all the competition. Right now, what I want to do is I want to take what Kobe said and I want to put a parallel in there with real estate and multifamily. So let's talk about this. First of all, most investors are already listening to podcasts. They're already watching YouTube. They're already analyzing the numbers. But what they're not doing is they're not putting in that extra time. They're not getting up early in the morning to get out to get in more workouts than everybody else, right? One thing that I personally started to implement was waking up around 5 a.m. and I would read for an hour in the mornings. So by 6 a.m., before most people wake up, I've already got in an hour of reading, right? Now, at lunchtime, I would come in, I would do another hour. And then in the evening, I would get that last hour, 3 hours a day on the education portion. And that allowed me to quickly be able to analyze, what I was missing personally in order to get better. Now, the thing is, you're not losing deals because you're not smart, right? You're losing them because somebody else is doing this 4 a.m. wake up call. They're getting out there and they're finding all these deals. They've already got them ready to go. And by the time you get up and start trying to make this deal happen, they've already made those phone calls. They've already analyzed those deals. They already know which deals are the right ones. And they've started reaching out to those brokers. There's no competition. They're well ahead of you in that moment. Now, the one thing that Kobe used to talk about was the Mamba mentality. It's about the actual separator. And there are three pillars that he discussed inside of this. Winners outwork everyone, right? Winners outwork everyone. And here's the thing. Most investors that I know, and I mean, this is across the industry. Most investors that I know don't start really doing anything until around 9, 10 a.m., right? They're kind of looking at this like a side gig. But the winners, when things open up, they're already out there and they're already pushing forward. By the time some investors are drinking their first cup of coffee, some of these investors have already made 10 phone calls. Keep that in mind. They out prepare. Now, Kobe Bryant studied his opponents. And investors, they've got to study the markets. They've got to understand the rents. They've got to understand the expenses. They've got to know the cap rates. All of those things you should be the best at. You should have it in your head. It's not a matter of, man, I need to go and research what the cap rates were today or what the cap rates are today. I need to really figure out what those expenses are going to be from that P&L. You should know what the expenses are in your market, right? Consistency is let's jump into the next thing. Number 3, outlast. Consistency is greater than those bursts, right? Consistency is greater than the burst. Anyone is capable of going out and grinding for a day. You see it all the time. Somebody gets amped up. They see some sort of deal that they love. All of a sudden, they're a multifamily investor, and they're the greatest thing since sliced bread, right? But I'm gonna say this: consistency is always better than bursts. And exactly like what Vikram is saying here, focus and clarity actually do matter. Okay, focus and clarity actually do matter. Now, what we have to do is we also have to have a system. Okay, we have to be intelligent. So when we wake up at 4 a.m., we're not just waking up and we're not scatterbrained. We're waking up and we have a system. Maybe our first hour from 4 a.m. to 5 a.m. is actually looking at rent comps, sales comps, doing some zip code research, going out and identifying our 3 markets. Maybe that's how we start, right? 5 a.m. to 6 a.m., we could be sitting here doing some sort of underwriting. We're focusing on the actuals versus pro forma and how we're going to normalize our expenses. We've already mapped out our 4 a.m. to 5 a.m., our 5 a.m. to 6 a.m., and then 6 to 7, what do you think we're going to do? 6 to 7, we're going to do our broker outreach, right? We're going to start calling these brokers or emailing these brokers before anyone else has even gotten up and taken that first sip of coffee. Now, why do we do that? Because the first call, the first emails are those that will be remembered, right? The first call or first email are those that will be remembered. Later on, those people that are kind of in the middle, those people that are calling it last, they're going to be forgotten. Just keep that in mind. Now let's go back. Let's go back to Kobe again. One thing that Kobe did is he always studied the defenders. He knew what their tendencies were, right? So how do we relate that back to real estate? In real estate, we need to know what the rent per square foot is. We need to know what the expense ratios are. We need to know what the cap rates are inside of our zip code. Because if you don't know what those numbers are, you're not actually investing, you're gambling, right? Now let's walk through a simple deal, right? Bad versus good underwriting, how we're going to actually make profit. We have learned our zip code so well. We know what our expenses should be. We know what it takes to normalize our numbers. That when a broker sends us a deal, we already know all those expenses. All we got to do is plug in those rents, right? Plug in any of the CapEx that we think is going to be there. We should be very quick at analyzing these deals because what it'll allow us to do is get ahead of the competition and move forward. Exactly like what Kobe was saying, right? Now, the other thing, Kobe missed 14,000 shots. You're going to lose deals and you're going to lose a lot of deals. And you're going to also have, brokers are going to ignore you. Sellers are going to say no. Some of these deals are going to actually fall apart. But here's the thing. When that happens, you have taken shot after shot after shot. And it puts you in a position that even though you failed, sooner or later that right deal is going to come across your desk, right? Now, what I want to say is this. Keep me changing to the 4 a.m. mindset or the 5 a.m. mindset has helped me tremendously from where I was at 10 years ago. I used to be the one that would sleep to 8 a.m., didn't really have a plan on the day, wasn't sure what I was going to do, but I knew I wanted to be an investor, right? I knew I wanted to be a multifamily investor. And I was failing miserably because I didn't have a plan in place, right? As soon as I put a plan in place to start taking that hour in the morning, the hour at lunch, the hour in the evenings, reaching out to all the brokers, everything just suddenly started coming into place, right? Things started coming together. And because of that, my life changed. And here's what I want to say to you too. If you take that mentality, and right now you just start out, maybe you get up a half an hour earlier. You don't have to go out and go to the extreme. Get up a half an hour earlier, right? Allocate a half an hour during your lunch. Allocate a half an hour in the evenings. Start making those changes. And sooner or later, you're going to start noticing some real progress in becoming an investor and not a gambler. Now, how do we want to wrap this up? Going back to Kobe, fitness was clarity and he made better decisions. And in the world of multifamily, if you are disciplined, if you have confidence in your arena, in your zip code, and if you have a lot of energy because you know your world, you know your zip code, then you're going to be well ahead of the competition. You're going to separate yourself, right? So tomorrow morning, I'm going to say this: follow Kobe's path, get up at 4 a.m., and decide that you want to be better than you were yesterday. Thank you.